Germany thought the Mustang was a nuisance, good for chasing trucks, not fighters. Then it crossed the border and didn't leave. By the time they realized what had changed under its skin, it was already too late. When the Mustang first appeared over Europe in 1942, it didn't even carry American stars. Painted in RAF markings, it buzzed low across fields and rail lines, a sleek but curious machine with a strange belly scoop. To German fighter command, it was barely worth a second look, an odd little aircraft used for reconnaissance and ground attacks. Pilots laughed it off, calling it a truck chaser, not a real fighter. And in some ways, they were right. At high altitude, where the real battles raged, the Allison engine gasped for air. The Mustang slowed, stumbled, and looked like easy prey. To the Luftwaffe veterans hardened over Spain, France, and Russia, this American newcomer seemed like nothing more than another Allied mistake, an aircraft they could outturn, outclimb, and burn from the skies whenever they wished. But in war, the most dangerous enemy is often the one you underestimate. For a brief moment, the Luftwaffe believed they had the Mustang figured out. Above 15,000 feet, its Allison engine wheezed and lost speed. German aces, flying their Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs, dismissed it as a fragile opponent. They mocked the Americans for designing a plane that could chase convoys on the ground, but collapse in the thin air of real combat. This overconfidence became their blind spot. They didn't know that in workshops across the Atlantic and in Britain, engineers were already rewriting the Mustang's destiny. The Germans saw a weak fighter and assumed it would always stay that way. That assumption, that easy victories would keep coming, would prove to be one of the most devastating miscalculations of the entire war. By the summer of 1943, the skies over Europe carried a new sound. The Mustang returned, this time with the legendary Rolls-Royce Merlin engine beneath its sleek frame. Suddenly, everything changed. The same aircraft that once gasped for breath at altitude now climbed like a rocket. It could dive, turn, and fight on equal terms with the Luftwaffe's most feared machines. The Bf-109 and FW-190, once untouchable, now found themselves matched blow for blow. For German pilots, the shock was immediate. What had been a nuisance only months earlier had become a hunter. And unlike other Allied planes, this hunter didn't break off the chase. It stayed locked in, pressing the fight until the skies were cleared. Then came the twist that truly shattered German confidence: range. With its new Merlin engine and added fuel capacity, the Mustang could now do what no Allied fighter had done before: escort bombers deep into Germany's heartland. Berlin, once considered untouchable, suddenly found Mustangs circling above. For the Luftwaffe, this was more than a tactical problem. It was psychological warfare. The skies they once claimed as their fortress were no longer safe. Missions that had once been routine interceptions turned into running battles against an enemy that refused to leave. The Mustang didn't just fight, it lingered, shadowing bomber streams, cutting down attackers again and again, until the German squadrons had nothing left to give. The Luftwaffe had faced dangerous opponents before, but the Mustang introduced something far more terrifying: inevitability. Whispers spread through German airfields, rumors that the Mustangs weren't merely defending bombers, but actively hunting fighters. Squadron leaders reported the same chilling fact. These American escorts stayed overhead, waiting, striking again and again, until every German attempt collapsed. For pilots who once dominated Europe's skies, the effect was crushing. Confidence gave way to dread. What had been mocking laughter in 1942 turned into a grim silence by 1944. The silhouette of the Mustang no longer drew jokes, it drew fear. And that fear spread faster than the aircraft themselves. Every new mission carried the same unspoken thought: if the Mustangs are here, we may not make it back. Numbers soon told the story the Luftwaffe didn't want to face. Once the Mustang entered the fight in full force, German kill ratios plummeted. What had been confident attacks on bomber formations now ended in disaster. Entire squadrons of Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs broke apart under relentless Mustang cover. American bomber survival rates, once grim, began to climb. Each raid proved the same point. The Luftwaffe could no longer dictate the terms of the battle. Accounts poured in of Mustang pilots diving into swarms of interceptors, scattering them with sheer speed and precision. German veterans, once certain of victory, were now being outflown, outgunned, and outlasted. The Mustang wasn't just another fighter. It had become the proof, etched in wreckage and loss, that the balance of power in the air had shifted forever. By 1944, the Luftwaffe's dominance was broken. The Mustang had tipped the scales, turning daylight bombing missions from near-suicidal gambles into coordinated strikes that tore open Germany's industrial heart. What began as a mocked reconnaissance plane became the weapon that dismantled Hitler's air force. The Luftwaffe could no longer protect its cities, its factories, or even its own skies. Every failed interception drained its strength. Every Mustang escort tightened the noose. Historians agree. Without the Mustang, Allied bombers might never have reached so deep, so consistently into German territory. But with it, the myth of Fortress Europe collapsed. The war's outcome accelerated, and the Luftwaffe's proud legacy burned away under silver wings. From its first clumsy flights to its final triumph, the P-51 Mustang story is one of the greatest turnarounds in aviation history. Once mocked as a low-level nuisance, it evolved into the very machine that broke the Luftwaffe's back and changed the course of the war. It's a reminder that the most underestimated weapons often deliver the most decisive blows. A plane the Germans once dismissed as irrelevant became the hunter that rewrote the skies over Europe. And here's the thought to carry with you. What other forgotten designs, underestimated at first glance, might have secretly shaped history? If you enjoyed uncovering this hidden war story, make sure to subscribe for more untold moments of military history, because the Mustang was only the beginning.